Hey everybody, Sexy Man the Pharaoh Wizard here. Another year has ended, and there's more stuff in the ever-expanding Marvel Cinematic Universe. So if you need to re-up your license on your PhD in MCU, I'm going to give you the lowdown right here on all the shows you need to watch and take notes on in 2019. Another huge year in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So let's get into it.
Number 8, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 6.
So yeah, like you'll see coming up here, like most shows, this one has been canceled. Oh, wait, what? It hasn't been canceled. They canceled Daredevil, but not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
So apparently, the not canceled Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 6. Oh boy, this show is garbage. This season, we see Quake, Simmons, some rando that I think might have a name, and I think that's it. In space, finding Fitz, who's in stasis, who was trying to meet them in the future last season, but now they're going to pull him out of stasis this season to get him back because he died at the end of last season. Which is something else I'm going to get to in just a little bit. And then, on the home front on Earth, we have the rest of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., led by Shotgun Axe Guy, who keeps trying to make that a thing. It's not going to be a thing. But Shotgun Axe Guy, and in the end of last season, also Coulson died, but now he's back as like this space being or interdimensional being who's trying to stop these bat creatures that crawl into people and make them zombies. This is a show that happened and did not get canceled. So, first of all, this show just doesn't know what to do anymore. It reeks of a show that's gone on far too long and doesn't know what its purpose is anymore. It's long fulfilled its purpose and is just coasting on dreams, I guess. And it had a very flimsy purpose to begin with. The whole purpose of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., as far as I gathered, was it was supplemental Marvel stuff to go in between movies and to fill in gaps from the movies and to show like what's it like for this little guy when all these big Avengers stuff happens. But ever since season 3, they kind of stopped doing that, and so it's just kind of gone and done its thing, and it no longer ties in the movies. It no longer does anything. It doesn't have characters I care about. And it has a huge problem with fake-out deaths. As I mentioned before, we already had 2 from last season that they undid. And then literally, sort of spoilery, but literally the final season had 3 fake-out deaths. That's right, not 1, not 2, 3 fake-out deaths in one fucking episode. What is this show? Coulson dies again at the end of this season for like the 9th goddamn time. And then he comes back for next season. And next season's going to take place in the past, I guess. What is this goddamn show and why is it still going? Does anyone care about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Because I sure don't. This has been a drag. It's always been the bottom of this list every year that I do it, except for when Inhumans came out, because I was definitely at the bottom. But outside of that, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been terrible. It started out okay in the first season and just went downhill real fast. And I'm not looking forward to another season from this, but you gotta watch it if you want to keep your PhD in MCU. So that's what I gotta do.
Number 7, Punisher, Season 2.
So if you watch my review of the first season of Punisher, you'll know I wasn't sold super well on it. I do like John Bernthal as the Punisher. He's a great casting, but they absolutely wasted this casting. One is... so the plot of this season is Jigsaw is back. I'll get to that in a second. Jigsaw from the first season is now actually Jigsaw. Russo. Joey Russo, I think it was. His buddy that he smashed into the glass is back as Jigsaw. And he's also teamed up with this girl that he kind of got caught up in her craziness where she stole something, I think. And they sent people to kill her, and now Frank's protecting her. And Jigsaw's there. Yep. So, a lot of things. So, first off, my biggest problem this season is Jigsaw. So, here's a picture of the comic book version of Jigsaw. This is Jigsaw from the movie Punisher Warzone. And this is Jigsaw from Netflix.
What do you want, freak?
Yeah, one of these is not like the others. This is a horrible version of Jigsaw. Not only is he fairly sane, but he's just got some scratches on his face that, if I'm being honest, makes him look more handsome. But they still play it off like, oh, you're so ugly. Yeah, this is ugly. And then they do another cardinal sin of any of these shows would do is they made up another villain, this like preacher guy, I guess you can call him, for the show. Like you have this universe, millions of characters, but we're going to make up another villain. And then, yeah, it's just really boring. It's a real slog. And the very first episode, Frank sleeps with a girl, in a sense, cheats on his wife, Maria. I know she's dead, but Frank does not cheat on Maria. This is a thing that is established majorly in the comics. And yeah, this is different from the comics, but good lord, it's just like the first episode immediately, just like, fuck it. So yeah, and unsurprisingly, this is another show that was canceled. So yeah, it wasn't very good. It was a waste of a great casting, and it was constantly reverting the Punisher. So like the end of Daredevil season 2, he's going to be the Punisher now. I got my skull thing, I'm the Punisher now. But then at the beginning of season 1, he's just like a construction worker and trying not to be the Punisher. But at the end of the season, now he's going to be the Punisher. And then at the beginning of this one, he's just trying to live a quiet life. And then he, at the end, is now he's going to be the Punisher. You see the pattern here. So yeah, I don't care for this iteration of the Punisher. I think the Punisher casting is great, but I don't think the writers knew what to do with the Punisher. And that's where we got left off.
Number 6, Cloak and Dagger, Season 2.
So another show that has been canceled. Last year I raved about this. I absolutely loved it. I told everyone they need to see it. It was a great show. I really enjoyed it. This season didn't grab me as much. It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't interesting or memorable. It was just sort of there. So Dagger is chasing down these lost girls that were then being sold into a sex ring. And Cloak, I guess, was just trying to keep a low profile because of the events of the first season, and he's wanted by the police. And then they butt heads. And again, it's just not really all that memorable. They do a weird thing where there's like a copy of the police officer that was helping him who's evil. Yeah, again, it's just sort of, I don't know, nothing about it really grabbed me. They tried to be a bit more cerebral and weird and maybe trying to be a bit more like Legion, but they're not Legion. It did not work, and I don't know, it wasn't all that interesting to me. It fell off, and I think a lot of people felt the same, hence why it was canceled. It's too bad. I think they could have gone a lot more and done more with this show, but that's where it left us, and it's really unfortunate because, yeah, they didn't know they were getting canceled either, so it wasn't like an ending to the show. It was just the ending to the season, and I don't think it really left us on a cliffhanger per se, but it kind of, like, it looked like they were going to keep going, and yeah, they're not going to.
Number 5, Jessica Jones, Season 3.
So for those of you who know how much I love Kristen Ritter, this being this low on the list should be surprising to you. I loved the first season of Jessica Jones. It was amazing. I loved seeing her in Defenders. Season 2, I also defend a lot, saying it was really great. This season, not so much. So Jessica's going about being her private eye self with a new assistant because her old one, Malcolm, is now working for the lawyer, Hogarth, as her personal private eye. And a serial killer, kind of comes into the picture, and he also has a big stink against powered people. And while this is all going on, Jessica's sister Patsy got powers from season 2, and now she's discovering her powers and becoming a vigilante herself. So the pieces might be there, but it didn't quite all fit together. Season 2 was a lot of, like, the big part was the relationship of mother and daughter. This one's relationship of sisters, and Jessica Jones and Patsy coming to odds with each other. And I think a lot of that worked out really well and was cool, but I think the villain was incredibly weak. And there was it just didn't know where to go. And I think that's sort of understandable because Jessica Jones is a fairly modern character. She was introduced in Alias #1 in 2001, not really all that long ago. So she doesn't have 50, 60 years of backstory and villains like Spiderman or Captain America have to build on this stuff. She's very modern, and she honestly is not in a ton of comics. And the ones I read really built more around being in this universe and being a private eye in a superpowered universe. And also dealt with her relationship with Luke Cage and her daughter and more stuff like that. It works more as she's part of this universe. But I think due to budgetary constraints and the fact that Marvel really wasn't letting Netflix touch any of their characters, at least it felt, I don't know if that's official, but it seemed like they did. They didn't really know what to do with Jessica Jones, and this show really shows it. I think it would have worked better if they would have, instead of making it one big arcing storyline like they did in the first season, maybe make it more serialized and more single episodes that maybe lead up to something more in the CW vein, because I think it would have been better if she had just mysteries that went 1 or 2 seasons with maybe a little hints of a bigger thing going on. I think that would have worked better, especially for Jessica Jones, but unfortunately not. And yes, this is another show that has been canceled. This is the last Marvel Netflix show. This is it. It's done. Marvel is off Netflix, at least with new shows. So I'm sad to see her go. I would love to see her get pulled into the movies more, or a Hulu show or something. Obviously, because I love Kristen Ritter, but I like the character of Jessica Jones as well. This one was good, but again, I just don't think they knew what to do with her. So there you go.
Number 4, Runaways, Season 2.
So kind of an interesting thing is last year, if you watch my Marvel roundup of the year, I said Runaways didn't really grab me, and it wasn't bad, but it just was sort of there. And Cloak and Dagger was the one I ranted and raved and said was great. And there's a flip this year. As I mentioned before, Cloak and Dagger didn't really grab me, but Runaways did absolutely. It was a lot of fun. It was great. I love to see the character development. And really, the plot this season was just basically what's next. They stopped their parents' plan with the hole in the ground. But what do we do now? We still can't trust our parents. What are the parents going to do now? Are they going to go after their kids? Are they still loyal to the weird cult thing? Like, how's this going to play out? And it's just really cool. I love to see the interaction between all the kids. And I just didn't know where this was going, and it was a lot of fun to be on this ride to see where the show's going, what's going to happen next, and it was just fantastic. Which really breaks my heart to say this is another show that has been canceled. Although, it does get one more season. It gets the rare and coveted Season 3 Marvel show. Not many shows have gotten this, only Jessica Jones, Daredevil, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. got this far. So, well done to Runaways and well deserved. And it's kind of good that there's a little bit of heads up that it's the last season, so they can actually build up to maybe being the end of the show and not just be kind of left off at the end of like a regular season. They can actually really end the show. And there's also going to be a crossover with Cloak and Dagger next season. So there's some really cool stuff that's going to happen. And I'm really excited because they're really going in a good way. And I can't wait to see what happens. So Runaway Season 2 was great. I can't wait to see what happens with Season 3. And I will be a little bit heartbroken when it's done.
Number 3, Captain Marvel.
So stepping into the movies, proving that pretty much the movies are the best part of this universe, except for that one year that Daredevil came out and was better than all the movies. But besides that, the movies are always kind of the best, and I don't have to go into too much detail because I did individual reviews of all these already. But Captain Marvel, although the weakest of the 3 movies, is still a fantastic movie. I enjoyed it a lot. I love the 90s aesthetic. I love seeing young Nick Fury. I love seeing the history of this universe played out a lot more than it has been before. I love seeing, Carol Danvers and how well they got her down. She's such this like straightforward, brash, like no thrills kind of character, and I think they brought that to her, and it plays differently than like everyone that makes the snarky comments and things. She's a more serious, like mission driven character. I just really enjoyed what they did with it, and it was very cool, and it's always awesome. So yeah, Captain Marvel, it was still great.
Number 2, Spiderman, Far From Home.
So yeah, Spider-Man was fantastic. One, the introduction of Mysterio in a movie was so great, and how they built him into this universe was really awesome. And then just seeing the fallout of Endgame. Because when we saw Infinity War last year, like it was at the end of the year, and Ant-Man didn't do anything with Infinity War, so we're kind of left with a lot of questions. And so we had to wait almost like an entire year to get some answers. Where this time we really see the fallout just a few months later from Avengers in Spider-Man. Like it's right there. What happened with the blip and when people came back? How's that work? And it was really cool to see where this universe is going and where it's being built towards. And it's a great kind of little prologue, I guess you can say, to the Infinity Saga, which is the first 10 years of this universe. I can't wait to see what they do more with Spider-Man in this universe. They got some cool stuff I heard planned now that he is officially doing at least one more movie and one more Avengers. So it'll be cool to see where we go from there. But this one by itself was really awesome. One of my favorite Spider-Man movies, and it's just spectacular.
Number 1. Avengers Endgame.
Oh yeah, the big guns. Of course, Endgame is at the top of this list. How else wouldn't it have been? It was so good. I don't really know what more to even say about it. I mean, I did say, and I still stand by it, I liked Infinity War a bit better than Endgame, but that doesn't mean Endgame is bad in any sense of the word. It was still a great, great movie. I really loved it. It's a great topper to this ending of this amazing universe that's been built over 10 years, and this like culmination of all these movies. It was so good, so epic, and just overall amazing. I loved Avengers Endgame. I don't really know what more to say about it, except it is the best thing from the MCU in 2019. So this is my hierarchy of everything we've gotten from Marvel in 2019. It's going to be interesting going forward because Kevin Feige is now the head of all Marvel artistic projects or something like that. Something along those lines. Basically, he's in charge of all Marvel things, shows, movies, and all that. Before, he wasn't on top of comics and movies, but now I believe he is. So you can already see the effect of that with all the canceled shows. They're really taking everything back and bringing this universe kind of back into the fold and getting rid of some of this extraneous shows. Except Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But it's kind of interesting to see. So there's going to be a bigger focus, obviously, on the Disney Plus shows that are coming out. You know, your Falcon and Winter Soldier, your WandaVision, Loki, What If, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, things like that. Those are, I think, going to be the focus. And they're going to kind of get rid of some of the stuff. There was like a planned Ghost Rider and New Warriors and Hellstrom on Hulu, because Disney owns the controlling shares to Hulu. But far as I heard, Ghost Rider and New Warriors have been canceled or abandoned. Hellstrom still might happen. So it's kind of interesting to see where this universe is going to go, because it seems like they're pulling it back a bit and having a bit more control. So it'll be good for things to have more continuity between the shows and the movies. They've already mentioned that when you see Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, that it's going to link in things from the Loki TV show and the WandaVision TV show. So it'll be a bit more continuity with that. So that's cool, but I think it's going to limit our characters, because some of these don't quite work in that realm, and they worked on the street level, like your Jessica Jones and your Daredevil. And so it's kind of good to see them get their own thing, and it would have been great if they just pulled those into the movies. And they still might. There's rumors that might happen, but, you know, who knows. But it's going to be interesting to see where this universe goes from now. So what was your favorite thing from Marvel in 2019? Let me know in those comments below. Hit this thumbs up if you're excited for Marvel in 2020. And go ahead and share this with anyone who needs to re-up their PhD in MCU so they know that they have watched everything from the MCU. I know I have. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. But I'm Sexy Man the Pharaoh Wizard. Until next time, hold on to your hold slots.